Hey guys, good morning and welcome to another edition of Cloud Nexus Live. I am joined, as always, by Marvellous Martin D. Good morning,
Good
Martin.
morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am so glad to see you today. We will dig into why in a minute. And we're also
Yes.
joined by the brilliant Ben Wildman. Hey, Ben.
Hello, morning.
How's it going?
Hey, Ben.
Good yourself?
Good. Yeah, really good. But what I really want to focus on for a second is Martin. How are
Oh,
you today?
um, I'm I'm okay. I've,
This here.
For the
I've
sake of the
been,
audience, let's let people know, what did you do yesterday?
I had my COVID-19 vaccination yesterday.
Very nice. So this is
Congratulations.
jab number one, right?
Number one, yes, and the last one in the household as well.
I thought you were a
So
lot older, Martin. I thought you might have got it a few weeks ago.
that hurts. Although I'm not the first one here to have it, so just saying.
No, that is true. So I had the vaccine 2 weeks ago, but I genuinely think that this is because my nurse made a terrible mistake when I went in for a health check recently, right? So we did the height and we did the weight thing and all of the kind of health checks, and she put down in the app that I was 5'1". Now, when she took my height, right, I was like, Jill, I'm 5'11" and a half. I have been for my entire life. I never quite made it to 6 foot, and I never grew the hair to get me to 6 foot. I'm 5'11" and a half. You don't need to measure me. She was like, well, let's measure me anyway. So she measures me. I'm 5'10". I'm like, Jill, me and you are going to fall out. This is not on. She goes, well, you do get shorter over time. I'm not having this. I'm not having that. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm 5'11" and a half. But anyway, she puts me down as 5'1" in the app, and then it calculates your BMI, right? So based on my weight and being 5'1", apparently I'm morbidly obese. I get a text the next day saying, you should come in for your coronavirus jab. And I'm like, well, all right then.
So
So I might have gamed the system. I don't
yeah,
know.
you cheated the system. Yeah.
Well, only if you realised after, anyway.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I certainly didn't stop to tell them until after I'd had the jab, and then I went, Jill, you probably need to update that record. I'm not being funny though. Me and Jill fell out twice in the same appointment, right? So this is friendly nurse Jill helping me out, and she already insulted me once by saying I was 5'10", right? The next thing is we're sat down and she's doing blood pressure and all that stuff. What do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, run a small IT company. Oh, my son runs a small IT company. Does he, Jill? I can't wait to hear about this. She goes, yeah. He's over in Leeds, and he's been running it since he was 23. He's only 29 now, but they employ 25 people, and they've got these massive contracts with the supermarkets. Do you know what, Jill? Let's just not talk anymore. Yeah, he drives a brand new Tesla. Yeah, you can shut up now, love. It's all right. Anyway, sorry, Martin. How are you anyway after the jab?
I'm better this morning than I was. Bit of a sore head, slightly achy, a little bit tired. Last night I was, temperature was like 38.3. I was shivering. It didn't last that long. So and a solid night's sleep, I was shattered.
But today, right? You're feeling good, yeah?
I'm feeling okay. Yeah, I might
This
still
is
take a
this
half
is
day.
good.
I might take a half day though.
Yeah. No, I found the
Because it's
second day.
quite nice outside.
Yeah, it's excuse.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
feeling a bit poorly.
I need some fresh air. I better go and check on the fish.
Well, yeah, this is it. They won't check on themselves. I must admit, I think the second day it came in waves for me,
Yeah,
and
okay.
I'm not saying I wagged it, but to just have a bit of a day on the couch and not have to look after the kids was not the worst thing in the world. I've got to be honest though, I wasn't expecting you here today, so I thought you might be a little bit sick. So I prepared like a stand-in for you. So let's just have a look at what my expectations for your day. This is how I thought your day was going to go, Martin.
Yes? Is it about the hedge? Look, I'm awfully sorry.
I am the Grim Reaper.
Who?
The Grim Reaper.
Yes, I see.
I am death.
Yes, well, the thing is, we've got some people from America for dinner tonight.
Who is it, darling?
It's a Mr. Death or something. He's come about the reaping. I don't think we need any at the moment.
Hello.
That's how I thought you might get a visit
Oh,
overnight or in the morning.
oh, brilliant. Love it.
It's
Absolutely love
come
it.
about the reaping. I don't think we need any.
No, we're full of reaping. Try next week.
Oh, but brilliant. Okay, well, so you're feeling well. That's the main thing. Let's get into what's happening in this week's news. So,
Cool.
the big thing that I saw this week, and this is probably news to nobody, but it's interesting for us to chat about, is that the Facebook details of more than 500 million people were found on a hacker website.
Wow.
And this is all of the good stuff. Even Mark Zuckerberg was in this list of things that were hacked. Now, what I find most interesting about this is that the hack actually happened, or the leak rather, actually happened back in January. So we're hearing about it this week because it's been for sale on the dark web for a long time with hacker groups, being able to buy and sell this information. But this week, someone has just decided to go, do you know what? Let's take it out of the dark web and just publish it on the internet for all to see. So we're hearing about it this week as like, oh my God, look at this giant information leak. But actually, it happened back in January. And I just wanted to get your impressions on this.
The funniest thing I heard from it was they found Mark Zuckerberg on Signal. The secure messaging app.
Well, he wouldn't want to use Facebook Messenger now, would he?
Or WhatsApp, even though we all do. But yeah, I found that was amusing.
That's some length of time for not knowing and for it being available and being out there.
Yeah.
It's just quite frightening. I'm not on Facebook. I don't care about Facebook. I have no friends.
Oh, so this is a real.
Told you that before. No, that doesn't affect me.
That is a real not in my backyard attitude.
Yeah,
well done.
No, but it is. That's a ridiculous amount of records. So 500 million.
Have you checked your mobile in there? In the Have I Been Pawned?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. You can jump into Have I Been Pwned and have a look and see if your details have been leaked at all. I have put my details in now. I know that I've been in previous data breaches. So things like when LinkedIn had an issue, there was an Xbox forum that I was a part of that got leaked. And so, the obvious thing to do if you find yourself in one of those is to go through, find those accounts, change passwords. And if you've used that password for anything else, which you shouldn't do, but if you have, is to go through and change the password in every other place where you've done that. Obviously, a great way to do that is to use a password manager, which most of the modern password managers will actually already go and do that check for you and see if your information is in one of these databases and then flag and say, hey, all of these accounts, go and change your password. So if you're not using a password manager today, you definitely should be. Martin's point is probably the best. You shouldn't be on Facebook anyway. I can see in the comments that Guy has joined us. So hey, Guy, he's got a really good point. Well, maybe if I'm reading the good point right, which is, what's the problem with all this data being out there? Interestingly, if you choose to be on Facebook and put all your information on Facebook, you are actively putting it out for the public to see anyway. So it's kind of a two-faced thing to say, oh no, I've put all my data in Facebook and now it's been leaked. Well, you were actively putting all your data in Facebook anyway for everyone to see. And I think I'd always look at it and go, try and share as little as possible on places like that, because it's not that it's going to get leaked. It's that you're already sharing so much, and social engineering is a real thing, and it makes it really easy for people to try and catch you out or trick you in some way to giving away more information. And then, I think the second point from Guy that he's just raised there is use multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. Even if you've got a really, really crap password, if you have a multi-factor authentication, an app on your phone or something like that, it is going to make it far more secure. And those old days of, changing your password every 30 days, I mean, who actually does that? But, unless it's forced to by the system, in your private accounts, people don't do that. They'll just stick to one password and try and use it on as many accounts as they can to make it easy. Well, you can probably still get away with that if you have two-factor as well, because at least if someone logs in from a device that isn't yours or from a country that you're not normally in, it's going to send you a two-factor authentication challenge to your phone. So there's something there. I'm quite tempted to shift around the order of what we were going to talk about because there's another article that's related to this
Yeah, I just about
that
to
we
suggest
saw as
that.
well. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think let's just skip ahead in what we had for the show notes and just jump to the next item because I think this kind of reinforces what we're talking about. So Ben, you spotted this on the BBC, which is that pets' names are used as passwords by millions, according to a study. So this is a study by the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre. And so they went ahead and interviewed a whole number of people to find out that 15% of people, I think it was, are using their pets' names as their passwords. Okay, all right. Again, if we bring that back to if you were using multi-factor authentication, maybe that's not a huge issue, but it does show a real kind of naivety, maybe, in that people are using pet names
And then
loved ones' names.
sharing images and stories about that pet on Facebook with his name.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think let's just have a look at some of the other stats that they had here. So yeah, 15% use pets' names, 14% use a family member, and 13% pick a notable date. But look at this.
Password.
6% of people are still using password as some part of their password.
Yeah. But see if they're really clever, you take your pet's name and you append some numbers to it. Like mine's would be like Spencer1234.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever going to guess that. Because I'm
No.
not on Facebook, so nobody knows that my dog's called Spencer.
I
Oh,
do now.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's a really good point. I think guys in the comments, these are great, guys. Thanks for these. This is a really good point that in that people then send out those surveys. They're like, oh hey, where do you guys go to school? Oh, hey, have you got any pets? What's your pets' names and all that kind of stuff. And so they're constantly now just sort of harvesting all this information as they go along. And people don't see it for the social engineering attack that it is, but it happens on LinkedIn as well. On LinkedIn, it's a bit more funny because you'll see people put out questions and just go, oh, I'm just doing a random survey. What is your mother's maiden name and the last three digits of your credit card? I'm just interested. What is your date of birth? But they'll do that as the joke that it is. And I like that, in the LinkedIn community, I think we see some of the savvy people kind of jumping in, just going, oh, yeah, ha, 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 I see what you're doing. But this is a real issue that happens. And it's not just those. I think Rob in the comments there, good morning, Rob. Great to hear from you. This is a real good point. So phishing training phishing attacks are getting far more sophisticated. And actually, I've seen some really good ones that have come through to my mailbox. Now, I'd like to think that I'm a reasonably tech-savvy user. You two might disagree, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. You're wrong, but you're entitled to your opinion. But I'd like to think that I'm a reasonably tech-savvy user, right? So I get something through that looks like someone's sharing a OneDrive file with me, and it looks like a file share. It looks like it's come from Office 365. The only thing that stopped me clicking on it was me going, I'm not expecting anyone to be sharing any files with me right now, but the whole thing was crafted exactly as it should be, and it looked really convincing. Now, we have protection in place anyway, so had I have clicked the link, it wouldn't have done anything. Thank you, Office 365. But that's not the point. The point is there's so many other people out there who would fall for something like that. And because now they're trading on a load of the really common topics, you're getting text messages through that say, hey, your coronavirus appointment is ready. Click here to book your appointment. Hey, we've got a parcel for you from Amazon or DHL or DPD. Can you come and there's a fee
follow
to
the
pay.
link.
Yeah, I've
So
had a few of
just
those. Yeah.
click here to press £2.99 to release this to you. And they're just so common now. And people think it's people's opinions, perhaps, when it comes to this stuff, that they are unlikely to get targeted. I'm only a small business, or I'm a micro business. There's only me. No one's going to target me. No one's interested in my information. And what they don't understand is that that's not how this works. How this works is someone sits in a room somewhere and just sprays as many people as possible with a phishing attack, with a dodgy email, with a dodgy text message. And they just sit back and wait for one person to click on it. Because as soon as one person clicks on it, that's money. However that works out, that's money for them. And so I think people are a little bit naive that way. And it absolutely comes down to, training the users, teaching them how to do stuff properly, teach them to look out for these things, and really showing in the best possible way how simple it is to fool people into getting data from them. I've got a great example. You've probably all seen this, but again, when I saw that BBC article, it just sprung to mind. So let me just show you this.
We're talking about cybersecurity today and how safe people's passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name and the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Chihuahua Papillon.
And what's its name?
Jameson.
Jameson. And where'd you go to school?
I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What school?
Hempfield Area Senior High School.
Oh, when did you graduate?
In 2009.
Oh, great.
Wow.
Brilliant.
In 2 minutes, or not even a minute, we've got her password. Absolutely crackers. That is the funny example. But this is a real thing that is just consistently happening, and it's not helped by the fact that people are picking simple passwords in the first place, and then they're using them across multiple sites. The one thing I did want to call out, though, is in this article from the BBC, is a little bit scaremongery, right? So let me just grab the article again here. It says pets' names are used as passwords by millions, the study finds. Millions, because 15% of people, 15% of the population are using pets' names. 6% are still using password. Ben, how many people were surveyed? Have a guess. Millions are using these as their passwords. How many people were in the survey?
I'm going to say 1,000.
1,282. So I don't doubt that the trend is true. Okay, so but 15% of these 1,200 people that they interviewed, I think that's still very different to saying millions. Are doing it this way, but it is a real issue. It's a real risk, and I think we do have to take it seriously. Rob says he needs to change his password. And Louisa, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It just sprung back to mind, and I thought that was brilliant. And Guy, you're right. It is the Jimmy Fallon show. There's all sorts. There's a whole section on those. Go and find him on YouTube and just look up for Jimmy Fallon. What's my password? Because that nice lady who gave her password away in a minute wasn't the only one. It was real simple to just keep asking questions.
Wow.
And that's just random person in the street with a video camera. You might think that your defenses would be a bit more up, but no.
Yeah, I remember early days in IT, and I got a hold of Loftcrack and ran it against our Active Directory just to see what it looked like, and it came up with the text of everybody's passwords. But It was seconds. It was literally like about 6 seconds. I had everybody's passwords, including my own, which was like immediate. So that's when I changed it to very complex passwords. I left it running. 2 days later, it was still running. So I thought that one's okay. That'll do me. But it was all pets' names. It was all football related. No, exactly.
I mean, it must be easy in Scotland, right? Because it's usually Rangers 1, 2, 3 or Celtic 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, that'll be it.
Just the shocking amount of football teams. Hearts and Hibs 1, 2, 3. Anyway, all right. Well, look, let's move on. The other week we talked about NFTs. If everyone remembers, we talked about non-fungible tokens. And we talked about just how much things were exchanging value for. Now. This is going to be the craziest thing I've seen now. So there's a digital artist who has sold a JPEG. He sold a piece of work for $69 million. He sold an NFT for this JPEG.
Wow.
For $69 million. Now, we talked about this the other week where we said, look, the NFT isn't really ownership of that thing. I mean, you have the title, I guess, to that JPEG, but that JPEG exists on the internet. I mean, here it is right here. I've got that JPEG. And I just don't understand. It feels like too many people with too much money to be spending $69 million on a JPEG. Now, admittedly, the guy Beeple is a digital artist, right? So what he does is he creates a piece of digital art every day. And he's been doing this for about 13 years. Let me just move you guys over here, and I'm gonna just share my screen so you can see the kind of stuff that he's been producing. Let me just share this.
Can you find the button, Scott?
I got it. Here we go. So this is the kind of stuff. So he's been doing this every day for 5,092 days. Now the artwork that he sold for $69 million was a collection of the first 5,000 days. So these are the kind of things that he's been creating. So literally, he's just committed every day. He's going to make a piece of art. Here's one from 2016. Here's another one. So just every day, he's making a piece of art. So he sold the title for $69 million to a JPEG. And maybe I'm just too dumb. I just don't get it.
No, it's wrong. It's rubbish anyway. It's
rubbish art.
So it's simple as that. It's not very good. It's not worth that amount of money. Christie's actually on their terms and conditions. I read an article in one of the art magazines, and Christie's have in the terms and conditions that the buyer is accepting the risk of the security and custodial risk of owning this via NFTs. You also get charged 25% buyer's fee. So I don't know if the 69 included the 25%, but that buyer's fee usually involves doing something. But this is digital. There's nothing.
Yeah.
They're not going to wrap it up and hand it over to you. And it's just silly. You're buying, ones and zeros.
Yeah. And this is the bit I don't get. Like, all those 5,000 images exist on his website.
Yeah.
And so I can either have, I spend $69 million on one shrunken version of all 5,000 images in one JPEG file so I can see it, but everyone can see that file. Or I could just go on his website and look full screen at every single one of those 5,000 images for free, and it didn't cost me $69 million. What's happening? Have we just got too much money and we don't know what to spend it on? I'm not being communist, but there's probably better things that $69 million might have gone on. And don't get me wrong, Beeple is, I believe he's a US citizen. I don't think he's Canadian. I think he's a US citizen. He will have to pay income tax. And so a huge chunk of that money will go back into the state, and so can be used for the federal government. Cool. Okay. All right. So, he will pay tax on that. Who's got $69 million to throw away on this stuff? I don't know.
No, it's not right.
Just think of it. As you could buy, Scott.
I know. All right. Well, look. So let's move on a little bit, because one of the things that we all struggle with, I'm sure, is the batteries on our mobile phones dying. Okay. Now, what if I could give you a fantastic way that I could guarantee the battery will never die on your mobile phone? You'll never be stuck in that situation where, I don't know, you've been on the train for 2 hours, as if that'll happen for a while. But you've been on the train, you forgot to bring your charging cable with you. Oh no, your iPhone's running out of charge, because that's what iPhones do. I'm sure the Galaxies do as well. But what if you could have a battery that lasted forever? You only ever needed to charge it once. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd have one of those. Now, what if I was to tell you that it was powered by nuclear waste? How are you feeling?
Not so keen now. No.
But there's a little bit of shielding in here, Martin. There's a bit of shielding that will separate you from the nuclear waste. Are you feeling any better?
No, I might drop it.
Oh my God, what have you dropped it?
Scott will definitely drop it.
Yeah, if it's me, I'll drop it. There'll just be like a green fog coming out of a broken iPhone on the floor. But in all seriousness, this is really interesting, right? So they found a way to harness nuclear waste and turn it into a diamond-powered battery that could run for 28,000 years. Wow. That's incredible. Now, the applications here, they're thinking of like deep space missions, so they could, power a probe or some kind of satellite and send it off, like we did with Voyager, and just go and have it keep going, keep reporting back, keep collecting data. The battery's never going to run out, and they don't have to worry about solar panels getting clogged with whatever as it's going along. So that's the idea. But they're also saying, because they can make these chips small enough, they could make versions that fit into phones. And so that you can make a realistic version of something that charges not forever, that's a bit glib, but not 28,000 hours, but one that actually lasts for a huge amount of time compared to what we're used to today, where mine sat on the charger all the time just in case.
Or better still, put that battery in your electric car, and then you can go further.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
But then
that's it. But
you could actually make it to the seaside instead of just your local shop.
Hey, I can get to the seaside. I mean,
you just can't get back.
And there's nowhere to charge. No, that's a really good point. But I guess then the risk is, and you guys made the point. What if I drop the phone? Is nuclear waste going to come out? It in a car? What if there's a car crash?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a look.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
I'm powered by nuclear. Guy says that, but he's powered by nuclear waste. I love that. Yeah, you'd be great, in the dark or any of that kind of thing, or we need to go into any kind of dark caves. Can we bring Guy? He's powered by nuclear waste. Richard is saying that the prototype for this is due in late 2022. I mean, this sounds like real science fiction, Back to the Future stuff, but actually, he said this is really, really close. This is really close. I think this is really interesting. I love the idea. I am a little bit concerned about things being powered by nuclear waste. I think that would be my concern. I don't want to turn into a. Do you remember when mobile phones first came out, and everyone was so terrified about like the microwave radiation that you might
cooking your brain and things? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine when we now say, yeah, this stuff's got nuclear waste in it? It's all right though.
Never going to run out of juice in my phone.
No, absolutely not. All right, cool. I am just going to slip over to the next topic that we've got here, which is all about Microsoft winning a 10-year contract with the US Army to supply essentially battle-hardened HoloLenses. Now, I can see this. I think this is a really interesting idea because when you consider having the troops on the ground equipped with this kind of thing. I mean, assuming it's got the right level of protection for them and some kind of ballistic protection, for them to actually wear in the field. Actually, I think this is really interesting because the ability to then properly guide the troops and set tactical objectives and all that kind of stuff is really, really easy. You can do that on a one-on-one basis without having to interrupt everybody with radio the entire time. And especially when they're in combat situations, getting through audio. I mean, we struggle with bloody headphones here. Imagine if you're in a combat situation. But being able to show them, valuable heads-up displays with tactical data, or even just, augmented reality, waypoints, you can see the value in this stuff straight away. It sounds super video gamey because we're all used to playing video games when you play Battlefield or Call of Duty. You've got a HUD, right?
Yeah. That was my first thoughts. It was kind of gamifying war, and I can understand the technical reasons for doing it and all the information there, but it does feel a little bit Call of Duty.
Yeah. You'll have a tactical heads up. You'll have a waypoint markers. You'll have all this kind of stuff. Do
you think they'll use so as a Microsoft product, and you've seen a bit on Microsoft Mesh recently in the augmented reality? So do you think all these soldiers will just have their own little avatars running about in the guys?
Like the little Wii characters, that would just be the absolute worst version of this.
Oh yeah, definitely. 22 billion contract. That's.
Is it not just for training then? Or is it literally combat somewhere?
No, you can see obviously in training scenarios straight away. But what would be the point in training them to get used to using these AR? Glasses. So it's not AR in terms of actually like training simulator.
Yeah,
it is for you are in a whether it's peacekeeping or war, whatever it is, you're in a situation, and we need to be able to send everyone tactical objectives or map updates or anything like that. Or imagine I only watch the movies. I've never been in these situations, but the landing zones change where they're going to get evac from. Okay, so great, here's the map update. And rather than having to get sent out through all the radio could get interrupted, I guess. Let's send them over here. We can just immediately update everyone's HUD to go, right, new LZs over this way.
Yeah, Robocop. That was what I was thinking of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Robocop. Now, I presume you mean like the original Peter Weller Robocop and not that horrendous remake that we got with Joel Kinnaman. Anyway. But yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. Can you just do me a favor, guys? Can you just carry on just talking about that for 2 more seconds? Because I'm going to change headphones. Keep everyone entertained with just some more thoughts on that. I'm going to change because these things are shouting at me.
Ah, okay.
Oh, all right. So, would you go to war with somebody else driving you from behind? Because that's what it seems like, doesn't it? It's like you end up with these kind of robots rather than actual people on the ground.
My first thought was, who they have to fight now? That was my initial thought. It's like, come on, we're 2021 now. Do we really need to be bombing and killing people anymore?
No.
Yeah.
As you say,
Interesting,
it's a bit of
interesting
peace
tech,
system as
certainly.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. But the whole mesh thing with the augmented reality, that was one that kind of got me recently, kind of watching that. It looks really good, but as soon as you do all these kind of avatars and kind of making it a little bit cartoony, and that was the first thing I thought, all these soldiers in cartoons and the likes. But
Little animated creatures come across the screen.
yeah, yeah. Let's just cheer the soldiers up.
Yeah.
Put them in a fish tank.
I'm not sure where you guys took it to after I stepped away for 5 seconds just to change some headphones. I don't know what happened.
We're just cheering up the soldiers.
Okay. All right. Well, look, so I've got an interesting topic for us to dig into today, and I saw this on the Yorkshire Evening Post yesterday. So it's a new objective that's been launched in Yorkshire, but it's not a new objective. So let me just get the right article for you here. So yeah, here we go. So businesses in the Yorkshire and Humberside area are being given access to a free police cyber alarm piece of technology. Okay, so it's every business and every organisation in the unit in the region can get access to this free tool called Police Cyber Alarm. Have you guys heard of this at all?
No.
All right, cool. So, yeah, so and it was news to me, so I was like, okay, that's interesting. The police are stepping in to take cybercrime seriously, and they're doing something that is free for all businesses in the region. Cool. Okay, well, what is it? So essentially, what this is. I've got a little how does it work here, which I've borrowed from their website. But essentially what it is, it's a little collector virtual machine that runs inside your organization. And it essentially takes the logs from the firewall, and then it will do some basic analysis of those. It'll pull out the metadata, and it will send it to the CyberAlarm server, where it will then sort of pass through those logs. And it will look for suspicious IP addresses or suspicious types of activity or anything that it looks at and just goes, this isn't good. You might be getting targeted. There might be a risk, and then they can get in touch and alert with you. It can't do any real-time protection, right? This is really a pull out the logs, send it for analysis, let the police team analyze it, or rather let their servers analyze it, and then send you an alert, say, hey, we think you're at risk. Could you do something, make a change, speak to your IT team, all that kind of stuff. Now, that all sounds good. That sounds beneficial. I like the sound of that. I'm just going to say bye to Rob, because Rob, thanks for joining us today. It's great to see you. You have a great weekend too. But one of the things that bothered me was, well, a couple of things stuck out to me, right? So this is aimed at smaller companies, it feels like. And I think the risk is that these smaller companies are not immediately going to have the technology that's compatible with this stuff, and they might not have the technical teams that can even just deploy this agent, because it isn't as simple as it sounds, right? It only comes as an OVA file, so it only comes as a VMware image at this stage. So again, you need to be running VMware. Okay, are there many smaller organizations that are running this stuff? And the reason I keep pointing at smaller is because larger organizations are probably going to have an enterprise firewall that's got IDS or IDP capability built into it. It's got some way of already doing some of that protection and analysis. So we're looking at smaller organizations, and Ben, you and I can think of the one that's up the road from here that we do a lot of work with, and they don't have a VMware platform on site. Okay, so they couldn't benefit from this. And when I think of a lot of people in their situation, that they might have, a WatchGuard or a Sonic Wall or something like that, or a Barracuda, on site, but they're not going to have the VMware platform to sit next to. So I'm like, okay, I immediately feel like they're a bit disadvantaged by that. Overall, it sounds like a nice idea. You've got the police on your side, they're checking your network traffic, and they're going to alert you if there are any risks. The problem comes when the platform that they've given you, the software tool that they've given you, is riddled with security holes itself. And that's what's actually happened. So the tooling that they've given out is built by a third-party agent, obviously, because the police didn't build this themselves. And what I found in doing some reading up on this is that actually that it is full of security holes. So some of the things that I found when I was reading through, so I did a too long didn't read, so you guys don't have to. But essentially a security researcher got involved. He thought it was a great idea. He wanted to try it out, downloaded it, So he then found immediately, like it did things like it disabled secure Linux, SE Linux, so it has to run on it on a Linux VM. It disabled SE Linux, which in itself is a horrendous idea. It disabled SSL and TLS. The passwords for it to communicate with the central server were stored in plain text, okay? And it enabled remote code execution. So this thing is now sat in a DMZ with remote code execution available to it, running a weak version, like a really old version of PHP as well, which has had vulnerabilities found in it again this week. But this is a version 5, let alone a version 7. It's got all these things. Secure Linux is disabled and encryption is disabled as well. So now you're putting on an appliance that's supposed to look out for security risk, but what you're actually doing is introducing a security risk into your environment. Now, being the good guy that he is, the security researcher went back to the NPCC and said, hey, I don't think this is in good shape. Okay, here's all the things that I found that I think are problems that you need to address. Now, they came back and they went, oh, well, hang on a second. You've got hold of the pre-production version. None of those things are in the live version of this product. And he's like, well, I just used the link that you guys sent me. But no. You couldn't have done, you've obviously got it from somewhere else. And he's like, no, this is the link you sent me. This is how I downloaded it. And when they've checked, there's a PDF, right, with the link in it. There are the installation instructions. And the text of the link has been updated to the new source. But we all know the link in the background hasn't been changed. So it was still pointing to the pre-production version, which says this was actually a live version at some point. This was being sent out in the instructions. But apparently none of that is in the live version. So please try again. Okay, cool. So he tries again. He gets the new version. Slightly less, but still jarring security holes in this version of the software. Okay, so he goes back. Again, just being the good cybersecurity citizen saying, hey, I still think there are problems here, and here. No, you're wrong. No. Let's have a call with our tech team to discuss it. So they engaged with him for a bit. So he has a call. And what he started to notice was he would get engaged on a call. They would deny that any of these security risks existed in their product. He would then go and download the updated version of the software, which was updated within a couple of days of those calls, that had removed the particular thing that he had highlighted. So you're only using RSA 1024. Suddenly it's RSA 2048. You've disabled TLS on this bit. Now TLS is enabled. You're storing the password in clear text. Suddenly they're obfuscating the passwords. And it seemed like a correlation that he kept providing the feedback, and they kept saying, no, that does not exist in our product. You're absolutely wrong, and then fixing it in the next version. Now, fine. Do you know what? At least they're listening, okay? And at least they're actually taking it on board. But why? Why keep denying that it's there? Why not embrace him as someone who's genuinely trying to make this a better product? This is the bit I don't understand. And instead, this is the point now where he's still saying, look, there are still critical issues with this that you haven't fixed yet, and I still think that you should. So instead of embracing him, they sent him a cease and desist letter.
Wow.
So cease and desist from your activities, and then they published an article themselves to say all of this guy's findings are false. And he was like, really? This is what we're doing now? So,
Yeah.
and so again, being the good corporate citizen, cyber citizen, he writes back, look, you've sent me a cease and desist. I'm just trying to help. There are security issues that you need to address. I'm not, I've kept your names out of this for a long time. This isn't about me shaming you in some way. Please just let's make this a better product. Now, this is still going on, and I'll share the link to the article and the full review of what the security research has been into. I'll put it in the show notes. But you can read yourself. This is still going up until up until December was the latest update in there. And I'm like, okay. And that was when it was rolled out to a subset of the country. Now it's come to Yorkshire, and I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at his research and going, everything you've said here makes sense to me that this is a security risk. Can I honestly say I would like to roll this out for our customers? And I'm looking at it and just going, no. And don't get me wrong, I don't feel like we're in a position to ourselves go ahead and get that application and do the security research and analytics ourselves. I just, we're not there. And yet we will help advise people on, taking good security best practice and, those things.
It seems a shame. It's like this really good intention
Yeah.
that's just fallen by the wayside, and then not accepting that support from people. You know, they're genuinely speaking rewarded for finding vulnerabilities and highlighting them, not not
Exactly. The big tech companies, they have the bug bounties, don't they?
The bounties.
Yeah.
They do, and you know, there was an event that happened just this week where, you know, people were paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for finding bugs in the likes of Teams and Windows 10 and Zoom, and you'd be able to break through the authentication methods on those, and the bounties are big. It's literally like $100,000, $200,000.
Yeah.
But here we've got someone who seems to be in really good conscience, just going, look, what would I get out of this by lying and making stuff up? I'm a security researcher. It would be career suicide if I was to in some way kind of accuse you of doing these things when they're not true. I'm just trying to say, these are all fixable things. You know, you can do this.
Yeah, fix it.
Yeah, right. And at least in the meantime, pause the rollout, address these issues, and then roll it out. And now I just look at it and go, I couldn't in good conscience, until someone else puts a rubber stamp on it, say that that's a thing for businesses to look at. And yet I see it on the Yorkshire Evening Post this week, and again on LinkedIn, this brand new tool is being rolled out for all organisations inside Yorkshire and the Humber.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay, I didn't want to rant on that too much, but I just think for those types of things, you know, you either I think my shortcut is, you know, engage a cybersecurity business. You know, if you are concerned about that, go and speak to a bunch of people who know what they're doing. You would like to think that a free tool from the NPCC, from the police, would be a good answer, but perhaps it isn't. And if you don't know enough about security, rather than taking on a free tool like that, or any free tool that claims to improve your cybersecurity, I think it's always better as a business to go and engage, you know, a company. I'm not saying us because it's not us, but go and engage a company who is, you know, a cybersecurity expert or has cybersecurity experts as part of their services. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yeah.
Totally.
Maybe they should just stick to what they're good at, really.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so Ben, we are up to Ben's Tech Corner. Ben's Tech Corner. We still don't have any jingles or anything like that. I mean, I speak to Kaylee all the time, and she promises me daily. I'm looking at her right now. She promises me daily that she's making a logo for you and everything.
Yeah, I think one week she definitely needs to join us on here for sure. Maybe one day we'll be lucky enough she'll join us.
One day. For the rest of the audience who don't know, Kaylee is our amazing digital marketing apprentice who makes all of this stuff possible for us, but refuses to come on the live streams. We'll fix it.
Cool.
No pressure.
No pressure. There's only just one from me. It's been a busy week, you see. But basically, it's a random one I found on one of the Exchange server blogs is blocking the ability for people to do a reply, send to a distribution group with the BCC.
Yes.
So basically, the whole point of this is if you, for example, some people in bigger organizations will send a mass email to everyone and stick the distribution group in BCC. So it goes to everyone and no one can do a reply all type storm message. But the guys who've worked on this have basically said, well, if it's BCC'd, none of the mailbox rules or anything apply. So, you know, if you're sticking mass email communications into a folder or anything like that, it's going to be ignored. So what they've introduced is a commandlet to allow you to prevent people from sending or BCCing distribution groups, which gets you around that. Okay. And I found it interesting because it's a way of stopping people doing a reply all and having like a mail storm and having everybody sending emails all over the place. But then the other point is, well, we can't control rules on mailboxes anymore because you'd be CCing everything to these groups. So we're going to give you a control to stop that. And yeah, I just found it interesting because you could argue both ways because it's an interesting point, really. Yeah. And there you go. That's highlighted on there. You can see that one-liner, basically.
I like it. I do like this because, again, you know, noisy inboxes is one of the biggest distractions that we have, where, you know, people are just trying to get on with some stuff. I'm just going to move you guys back over here. And so just having just ping, 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 ping. I mean, it's hard enough now, if you're in noisy, chatty teams, as well as having noisy inboxes as well. And I think people could just get overwhelmed. So it's
Yep.
little tools like this. And yes, it's come to PowerShell now, and that's not easily accessible for everybody. But the fact that it's there now means that it'll soon be coming into the UI at some stage. If people really start to, use these features, then Microsoft will bake it into the UI as well. But it's stuff like that that really starts to make a difference to just people's quality of life in their inboxes and in their Teams channels, and keeping them from being distracted. Because it can be overwhelming sometimes, right?
It certainly can, especially in Teams.
Bong,
Yes. Bong bong, bong 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 bong.
Even when you're on calls, how frustrating is that?
Do not disturb here, but it still pings on your phone. You look through your phone the other side of the room.
Well, you won't be if it's nuclear powered.
Not the nuclear battery.
This might be a good thing, actually. Like, people will be really careful, because you remember that first time you get your brand new phone, when you place it down, and then after you've had it like a couple of weeks, you're like, just throw it on the table. I'm not bothered. If it had nuclear waste in it, hello?
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be super careful. I shouldn't have looked at that. There's a million WhatsApp messages. Cool. Well, I think that is everything that we had. We did have a Martin's Marvellous Minute, but it was basically just to say that AstraZeneca did or did not kick you in the butt today. But you're looking good.
No, I'm actually feeling better than I expected. So, and it seems to affect everybody differently. I was meant to have a meeting with somebody yesterday who then messaged first thing in the morning saying, no, it's floored me. So they were completely out of it. I was expecting the same. I actually woke up okay. Not too bad.
No, that's good.
Good stuff.
Ben, there's a question from Richard Edgy. A question, it's a statement. He says, actually, the BCC function is really useful to hide everyone's email addresses related to GDPR compliance. So, you've got to do a bulk email, but you don't want everyone to see who's being copied in. That is a valid use. Is this a different use case to what you were just talking about?
Yeah, so this is, for example, an internal distribution list where people would typically send it to the BCC address list to stop people doing reply all. And because it's a BCC, it's not processed by any mailbox rules or anything like that because of the fact it's a BCC. So what Microsoft have come up with is the ability for people to prevent sending it into a BCC, which allows you to then process that within rules and things like that. So yeah, two different scenarios, both relevant and both useful. What's interesting, so this came about, so apparently Microsoft twice a year give their engineers the ability to just come up with something technical as part of, just something to do as part of like a campaign type thing. And this was something that came out one of those. So it's like a tech session of, okay, we're going to just build a commandlet, build the functionality into Exchange Online to allow that control, basically.
Okay.
Nice.
No, that's cool. I like that. I remember, it's things like that inside the large tech companies where they just have the kind of totally, unplanned, have you got a great idea, let's put something in, is how things like Google Mail came around.
Yeah,
it's like just one of the engineers was like, oh, I think we can build a mail platform, and suddenly it becomes one of the biggest mail platforms in the world. One of, it's not Microsoft 365. Anyway, let's not start a turf war. Well, good stuff. All right. Well, I think that is all we have time for today. I think that's everything we wanted to cover. I just want to wish you guys to have an amazing weekend.
Yeah,
and thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to everyone for getting involved in the chats and the questions. It's great to hear from you guys. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. And so from Ben, where am I? I'm not in the middle. There we go. So from Ben, Martin, and myself, you guys all have a great weekend.
Cheers. See ya.
Is it finished, chat? No?
They won't notice.
No. Keep still.
You did better than this.